20 experts gave up, but one amazing cleaning lady revealed the simple solution in just 60 seconds. Maria wiped the edge of a lab table, the harsh fluorescent lights gleaming off its surface. She could hear the scientists in the corner of the sterile research facility, their voices tense and urgent. As she scrubbed, snippets of their conversation seeped through the air like confounding perfume concentration issues, unprecedented failures, and the weight of prestige on the line. They were desperate, and she felt the unease coil around her heart. At 57, her own ambitions, long overshadowed by the tidal wave of raising 2 children alone after her husband's passing, seemed a world away. Her grandmother's recipes echoed in her mind, familiar whispers of time-honored wisdom, the very cleaning solutions she used to concoct in their old kitchen, remedies brimming with simplicity and effectiveness. She paused, feeling an odd urge to step into their chaos to offer a hand where intellect alone faltered. Could a humble cleaning lady dare to interfere with high-powered minds? As the tensions escalated among the scientists, she exchanged glances with a young intern whose face was drawn a mix of panic and determination etched in the corners of his mouth. Emboldened by a moment's intuition, Maria approached him. "What if you tried vinegar with baking soda? It could help break down the buildup," she suggested, her voice steady even as uncertainty flickered within her. To her surprise, his eyes lit up, as if a door to possibility had swung open. For the next week, Maria returned to her routine, her heart heavy yet hopeful. She thought of the solution she'd provided, an echo of her lost dreams, a bridge between her past and a future she had not dared to consider. The lab buzzed with new energy, and for the first time in years, she felt a thread of connection to the world beyond dust and mop water. Before we continue, I need to tell you about something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to the system, and many people are losing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, click the bell and mark all notifications so you don't miss the next videos. And if you can leave a like, it really helps with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, tell me in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen. Now let's continue. The breakthrough came a week later in a flurry of excitement when the team discovered a hidden compound, the very key they had been searching for. Suddenly, Maria's name was everywhere. Her story carried by local news, an ordinary woman catapulted into the spotlight. Some hailed her as a pioneer, while others scoffed at her audacity to step beyond her place. Conversations buzzed through the town, and even her children seemed burdened, faces twisted between pride and the weight of sudden judgment. Late one night, Maria sat at the kitchen table, staring into the remnants of a dinner meant to bolster her family's spirits. They should be proud, that should be enough. Yet doubt crept in. What if this acclaim invited ridicule, not admiration? Could she adhere to the comfort of their routine? Or should she risk everything for a scholarship offer that beckoned her back to chemistry? As she grappled with fears of failure and unrest in her heart, her children's eyes watched her intently, hope and fear dancing together. They were counting on her, but what if she lost them by chasing a long-buried dream? The air thickened as she lingered in indecision, balancing the dichotomy of her life, a cleaning lady who just might possess the genius to push boundaries. A fateful crossroads lay before her, brimming with the intoxicating uncertainty of change. Could she redefine what it meant to reach for greatness, or would she shatter the comforting facade she fought to maintain? Days passed, and the palpable buzz of excitement began to morph into a more complicated melody of emotions. Maria stood in the shadow of her current life, cleaning supplies and a reality filled with challenges, and gazed at the reflected glass of the lab's entrance. Her hands trembled slightly as she wiped the door handle, confronting her uncertainties head-on. The revelation of her contribution echoed in her mind, yet the accolades felt heavy, like stones in her pockets. Her children had shared their pride, their friends expressing admiration for their mother, the accidental scientist. However, whispers of disdain lingered, insinuations of her stepping out of her role confined to the domestic sphere. She could almost hear it, the soft chiding tones from her neighbor Maria, "Stick to what you know." With every passing moment, the weight of expectations threatened to crush her newfound sense of self. Driven to the edge of action, Maria sought clarity amidst her swirling emotions. An inner voice urged her not to let the story end here. The scholarship felt like an open door whispering promises of growth, a chance to reclaim parts of herself long overshadowed by responsibilities. The dilemma morphed into a challenge to rise above the considerations of societal norms and familial expectations. With a newfound determination, she drafted a letter to the scholarship board. The words flowed like water over stones, her heart racing as she detailed her unique perspective, her experience as a mother infused with a practical wisdom born from daily challenges. She narrated not just her recent moment of inspiration but also her history, rooted in the simple joys of chemistry that had once colored her teenage dreams. Yet, the act of sending the letter filled her with trepidation. What if they laughed? What if she laughed at herself for attempting to change her trajectory? Overcoming her fears became an assignment she couldn't dismiss. She needed to confront these demons and exceed them. As she walked the letter to the post office, her pace oddly quickened. With each footfall, doubts wrestled in her mind against a burgeoning hope. She envisioned walking into the lab one day, no longer just a cleaning lady but a force of innovation. The prospect lit her spirit in ways she hadn't felt in years. Later that evening, while tidying up after dinner, Maria felt her children's eyes follow her. "You could teach us chemistry, Mom," her youngest suggested, enthusiasm lighting up his features. The comment stirred a warmth inside her, a soft reminder of her own excitement for knowledge. They didn't see just a cleaning lady. They saw a mother full of potential. That night, sleep eluded her. The edges of her dreams became riddled with thoughts of the other scientists. Would they welcome her? Could she participate in their endeavors instead of merely cleaning the spaces they occupied? This was no longer a far-off fantasy. This was a beckoning possibility. Maria awoke with a newfound resolve. The next day, as she wiped down glass beakers and polished lab counters, her relationship with the scientists shifted subtly. She engaged more with the interns, asking questions, sharing ideas she had wrestled with in her mind. Each moment ignited a small spark. Perhaps she could explore chemistry not just as a memory but as a future. However, an email landed in her inbox that would change everything. A recent discovery had ignited scrappy enthusiasm amongst the research team. They were hosting an open forum where one person from outside the scientific community would be invited to present an idea. The chance to showcase her perspective made her heart race. The moment had come when she could define her legacy beyond that of a mere cleaning lady. Could this opportunity lead to acceptance or further alienation? Maria braced herself as she faced the opportunity with the dual essence of dread and anticipation. It was time to step into the light. Could she dare to present herself without fear? As the assignment was laid bare, the answer hung in the air like an unsolved equation, teetering on the edge of possibility. Would she embrace the risk? Or would she retreat into the shadows once more? The next morning was tinted with an electric anticipation, each ray of sunlight penetrating the fog of doubt that had once clouded her vision. It was as if the universe conspired to amplify her resolve. The world layered with vibrant hues. The lab, vibrant and alive with the energy of creative pursuit, beckoned her. Clutching a pen and a small notebook filled with fledgling ideas, Maria approached her day's work with newfound intention. Each task she performed felt less like a chore and more like a step toward something monumental. As she scrubbed the countertops, her mind turned over the concept she wanted to share at the open forum. The idea crystallized into focus, solidifying under the pressure of her unrelenting imagination. What if she proposed a method of environmentally safe cleaning solutions to boost the lab's sustainability? It was practical and accessible, and drew on her expertise as a mother and guardian of her environment. This idea flared with a warmth that countered the cold grip of self-doubt, and she felt buoyed by the sheer audacity of it. Yet shadows still loomed. A deeper vulnerability crept in as she acknowledged the uniqueness of her voice in the midst of trained professionals who spoke the language of science fluently. While she maneuvered through as an outsider, a cleaning lady imbued with aspirations. During lunch with the interns, she gathered her courage to share her thoughts. Hesitant at first, she initiated a conversation about sustainability, feeling her heart race as she mentioned her idea about harmful chemicals in conventional cleaning agents. To her surprise, their responses were enthusiastic, curiosity swimming in their eyes like golden fish darting through water. A few even asked for her insights on product safety, and Maria relished these moments. Their respect instilled in her a burgeoning confidence. Days before the forum, however, dread crept in once more. The weight of her home responsibilities hung over her like a thick fog. The guilt wrestled with her aspirations. Should she be investing time for herself when her children needed her? An internal battle erupted. Could she justify this endeavor when she could be tucked in at home, making dinner or helping with homework? The echoes of her neighbor's voice stick to what you know reverberated, casting shadows even on the most radiant joys. But she also felt something else, a growing awareness. Her children saw the spark igniting within her. They didn't just need a mother. They needed a role model, someone who dared to chase dreams regardless of obstacles. Their excitement when she spoke of science and chemistry inspired her to embody the very principles she wanted to instill in them. As the day of the forum approached, Maria found solitude within the chaos. With every deep breath, she acknowledged the voices of her children cheering her on and the passion ignited by her labor in the lab. She stood at the threshold of possibility, her heartbeat drumming with urgency and purpose. Standing in front of the audience, with her notes trembling in her hands, she felt the audience's expectation like an electric current, spurring her forward. The walls around her dissolved, leaving her in stark contrast against a backdrop of brilliant minds. Suddenly it was less about the place she came from and more about where she was headed. Could she articulate not just a thought but a vision that bridged her life experiences with scientific advancement? Maria finally understood that the real question was, would she allow herself to be defined by her past? Or could she seize this moment to sculpt her future? As the moment loomed, the words, "What do you intend to present?" echoed in her mind like a lit fuse, her own resolve igniting. The answer remained just out of reach, swirling amidst her hopes and the questions that muddled her heart. The threshold she sought to cross was now alive, as vibrant as the sunlight that bathed the lab. Would she dare to leap forward, or turn back to the familiar shadows? The clock was ticking. Maria took a deep breath, and the weight of the moment settled in. The noise of the lab faded into a soft hum as her thoughts stirred, a mixture of exhilaration and anxiety. Her voice cracked momentarily when she began to speak, a stark reminder of her unpolished presence among the sharp intellects before her. But as she delved into her presentation, the passion behind her proposal began to shine through the cracks of her uncertainty. Before long, she noticed people leaning in, their faces betraying a mix of intrigue and respect. Each nod or raised eyebrow became a buoy, lifting her from the depths of her self-doubt. She articulated her vision for an eco-friendly cleaning solution with clarity and conviction, weaving personal anecdotes about her role as a mother into scientific rationale. For the first time, the unique perspective she brought to the table felt like a strength rather than a hindrance. The applause that followed was a welcome crescendo to her melody of doubt and aspiration. However, it was the questions that lingered in the air afterward that solidified her belief in herself. One panelist, an established chemist with years of experience, asked about the scientific principles behind her suggested methods. Maria faltered for a split second, but a brief recollection of the late-night study sessions at the kitchen table with her children flooded back. She navigated her thoughts back to her notes, but something wholly unexpected flooded her: the sheer depth of knowledge she had acquired through her personal experiences. I've studied various natural ingredients like vinegar and baking soda, their interaction with grease and dirt, and that informed my recommendations, she said, each word spiraling out with newfound authority. The panelist responded with a thoughtful expression, acknowledging her creativity, and Maria felt herself grow taller. The thrill of that moment pushed the boundaries of her comfort. She had transcended her role as merely a participant in the forum and stepped into an arena where her unique insights held weight. Yet, as she left the lecture hall, that familiar heaviness returned, curling around her shoulders like unwanted fog. Guilt crept back in, whispering of dinner preparations left untouched and children waiting for stories. But a small section of her heart swelled with triumph. Just days ago, she had been a cleaning woman, wrestling with her doubts, and now she was someone who had garnered the respect of intellects and experts. She questioned whether she could perpetuate this duality: who she was at home, and who she was becoming in that lab. Driving back, the streets whizzed by. Her mind raced through possibilities. How could she harness this momentum? She needed to capture the energy of that day, expand her research, invite her children along this journey, morphing it into a shared expedition of learning. Could she devise a project that engaged them in the science of sustainability? She envisioned pop-up experiments in her kitchen, laughter echoing against science ingredients transformed into life lessons. Yet deep down a shadow of doubt persisted. Was this newfound confidence just a fleeting spark? Schools of prestigious thinkers had often made her feel irrelevant. Would her proposal be lost in the multitude of ideas that flowed through those hallowed walls? As she relaxed in her car, parked beside home, she plucked the notebook from the passenger seat, ready to pen down her insights. But her hand stalled at the page, caught in the juxtaposition of her aspirations and reality. Could she afford to take this leap when faced with the demands of family? The faint sound of her kids' laughter pulled at her until she pressed the pen to paper, pushing that conflict onto the page. Clarity began to form, but shadows danced along the edges of her aspirations, and each word sparked another round of questioning. What choices would she make to embrace her emerging identity? With her heart racing, she paused, compile her thoughts to inject into her proposal draft. The stakes were undeniably high. What would acceptance or rejection mean now? It was this choice that nailed her in place, the revelation blooming. Did she dare nurture her pursuit and risk disappointing her family? The next moment lay heavy and unformed before her. She could hear her children calling, echoing across the threshold of her ambitions into the sanctuary of her home. Would she let them witness her struggle or craft an entirely new narrative, one that interwove their worlds together? But as she steadied her pen, the soft scratch on paper filled the silence, leading her into realms of discovery, as boundless as the dilemmas she faced. What came next would redefine her, both as a mother and a pioneer in the world she had envisioned. Would she find a way to weave them together? Sitting in the stillness of her car, Maria felt the weight of expectation pressing on her chest. She held her notebook tightly, but the silence around her was overwhelming. Could she turn the excitement from her presentation into actionable steps? Would her family be on board for this adventure she envisioned? As she stepped inside, the aroma of the simmering pasta filled the air, a comforting reminder of home. Her children were sprawled across the living room floor, gluing together bits of cardboard for an art project. They looked up, excitement brightening their faces. "Mama, help us!" they chorused. The easy warmth of the moment contrasted sharply with the storm brewing in her mind. Maria forced a smile, her heart split between familial duty and personal ambition. "Of course. Just let me set this aside," she said, placing her notebook down reluctantly. As she knelt beside them, laughter bubbled up from the trio. They were assembling a spaceship, their imagination running wild, and for a moment, Maria allowed herself to be entirely present. Yet, every laugh echoed the question she was wrestling with. How could she integrate her passion for sustainability into everyday life? Each cardboard cutout they glued down felt like a missed opportunity for a science lesson. As they crafted the spaceship, she whispered ideas about building things from recycled materials, the science of propulsion, and the importance of caring for the planet. Could we make a spaceship that cleans the air? Her youngest piped up, eyes wide with wonder. There it was. A glimmer of inspiration struck her, igniting a new idea. Maria felt a charge of excitement flow through her, invigorating her spirit. What if this was more than a whimsy? What if they created a project together around eco-friendly practices that turned learning into play? "Let us do it. How about we create our own cleaning product and test it out?" she suggested, her voice filled with determination. The children cheered, unaware of the depth of her inner struggle. Their delight fueled her ambition, casting aside lingering doubts, even if only for the moment. Later that night, after tucking her children in, Maria returned to her notebook. The faint glow of a lamp illuminated the pages where her dreams and theories danced together. Suddenly, her ideas poured forth with clarity. She began drafting a project proposal, structuring it around their joint venture, an eco-friendly cleaning product formulated from household items. Her excitement surged as she mapped each step they would take, marking out experiments that dovetailed with fun activities they could do together. She envisioned the children conducting tests, measuring effectiveness, creating posters with alchemy-like potions filled with curiosity and joy. But even as she scribbled away passionately, doubt crept back in. This new venture required resources, time, money, and the willing participation of her family. What if they lost interest halfway through? Or worse, what if she became so absorbed in the project that she neglected them? Tension coiled within her like a tightly wound spring. She glanced at the clock. Time was already slipping away. Balancing her family's needs and her aspirations felt Sisyphean. She knew she had to face the reality of her ambitions. Would she risk her children's childhood for her own pursuits? With that sobering thought rushing through her veins, she put the pen down, her resolve still wavering. The cost of pursuing her vision weighed heavily. She was at a crossroads that could shape both her life and her family's dynamics. As she leaned back, contemplating her next move, a single oppressive truth loomed. Could she find a way to embrace this duality without sacrificing either side? The next step required courage she wasn't sure she had. With her heart racing, she leaned closer to her notes, ready to refine her proposal further. This was just the beginning, a precarious balancing act that lay ahead, and it beckoned her inward, demanding that she confront her conflicting desires. How would she navigate this complex terrain? It was time to finally decide. Would she take the leap or retreat into the familiar folds of her daily life? The clock ticked, each second amplifying her growing uncertainty. Whatever path she chose, one truth became paramount. The moment had arrived to face her inner conflict head-on. Maria awoke the next morning to the incessant chirping of birds outside her window. Sunlight streamed in, illuminating the remnants of her scattered notes that lay across her desk like a fragmented map of uncharted ambitions. A sense of determination washed over her, but it was tainted by the subtle yet persistent tendrils of doubt creeping back into her psyche. The day ahead felt pivotal. She could sense it in her bones. After breakfast, she would sit with her children and share her ambitious cleaning project, hoping to ignite excitement through the prospect of scientific exploration. Her heart pounded as she envisioned their reactions, the mixture of delight and curiosity she craved. Yet, lurking beneath that anticipation was an uncomfortable question. What if they weren't interested at all? Dismissing the worry, she focused instead on how best to articulate her vision. Words danced in her mind, sentences forming like delicate threads weaving together a bigger picture. Maria grounded herself, reminding herself that her children had proven their creativity time and again. She turned her attention to the task at hand, sketching out a simple framework they could build together, highlighting the fun aspects first. Make your own cleaning product. Who wants to help mix the potions? As the breakfast dishes clinked in the sink, she approached the living room, notebook in hand, where her children were sprawled playing a game. They looked up, eyes wide, as she revealed her plans. "Okay, team. Who's ready to become junior scientists?" she declared, her voice a blend of enthusiasm and authority. "Mama, we can make our own air cleaning spaceship," her youngest shouted, jumping up and down, reminding her of the previous night's spark of inspiration. Maria's heart swelled. "Exactly. But first, what would you like to learn about how we can keep our home clean using simple things we already have?" Her children exchanged glances, their young minds working quickly. "Can we use vinegar?" her daughter asked, eyes glinting with excitement. "Brilliant. And what about baking soda?" Maria responded, steeling herself to keep the focus on collaboration. Encouraged by their chatter, Maria witnessed a shift begin to unfold. What started as a project she feared would lead her into isolation transformed into a shared journey. The more they engaged, the more her doubt faded. This experience, she realized, would not just be about her passion but theirs too. Together they could intertwine learning and fun. Later that afternoon, she gathered an array of household items and laid them on the table, organizing them into a mini-lab. The children were wild with energy, their imaginations unfurling as they experimented, blending vinegar and baking soda into a mess of fizzing concoctions. Maria watched, heart racing not from anxiety but exhilaration, their genuine interest reigniting her spirits. Yet amidst the joy, a flicker of unease crept in, reminding her of the larger implications of this project. Was she adequately balancing her time? Was each moment of fun also an investment in their future understanding of sustainability? Maria wrestled with the gnawing realization. The longer they engaged, the more she'd see exactly how invested she was in this idea, and how easily it could spiral into personal obsession. As laughter filled the room, Maria felt momentum surging, but she also grappled with the fear of overcommitting. This feat required adaptation and adjustments, and she needed to embrace that uncertainty. The balance of her aspirations with her family's growing engagement became paramount. With them knee-deep in their project, it was essential for Maria to maintain clarity of purpose. Instead of losing herself in this venture, she had to remain grounded. Could she develop this passion while constructing a framework that kept her family's needs at the forefront? The test lay ahead as the proposed launch for their homemade products drew closer. Would they see success? Or would interest fizzle out? Could she turn this dynamic experience into something sustainable, beyond a mere afternoon of fun? As she glanced at the clock, reality clawed back into view. Time was precious, the day slipping away too quickly for comfort. The moment had come for Maria to navigate not just the challenges of this project, but the intricate balance of her identity as a mother and as an inspired, driven individual. How could she ensure that what they built together boomed, rather than faded into nothingness? The question lingered, electrified by uncertainty and challenge, propelling her forward into the unknown. Would she falter under the pressure, or rise through it with her family at her side? Maria stood in the center of the chaotic kitchen, an assortment of labels and colored markers strewn alongside the glass jars of their homemade concoctions. The table had transformed into an experimental laboratory, and her children buzzed with excitement around her. Yet, amidst the laughter and chatter, something still gnawed at her, an urgent need to ensure that this wasn't just a fleeting adventure, but a stepping stone to something greater. She watched her daughter scribble air potion on a label with uncontained enthusiasm. Reflecting on how far they'd come together within a single day, Maria felt a surge of pride clash with anxiety. Was she merely offering distractions? Or could this project blossom into a meaningful engagement that shifted their household's approach to sustainability? All right, scientists, what happens when we mix these together? She prompted, pointing at the jars. Magic! Her youngest exclaimed, giggling as he reached for the vinegar. Science, really? Maria corrected, though it felt like the same enchanting spell. She knew that learning could best be achieved through play. Yet, within her heart, a fierce determination gradually brewed. Let us focus. I want us to design something that not only cleans but teaches us about our environment. Each potion should have a reason behind it. The shift from simple fun to educational intent was subtle, but she sensed it could be the catalyst for deeper understanding. As they mixed and stirred, spilling some ingredients along the way, she turned inward, contemplating her personal evolution as well. Maria had often tiptoed around the fringes of her ambitions, fearing commitment and grappling with the norms of motherhood. The playful chaos now revitalized her vision, the process reflecting a beautiful chaos she could embrace, not fight against. By the time they tested their creations, each fizzing reaction sparking fits of laughter, they had unintentionally crafted lessons about chemical reactions and environmental responsibility. Amid delighted squeals, Maria felt a sense of clarity. She wasn't just the mad scientist here. She was a facilitator of their learning journey, a guide directing their exploratory energies towards something constructive. Yet as dusk approached, a thrill of uncertainty surged back, making her heart race. Tomorrow they would launch their air potions on social media, hoping to inspire others. Would the application of their fun crafting lead to a wider impact? Or was it merely naive optimism on her part? Her fingers nibbled at her lower lip as she flickered through various platforms, seeking inspiration and guidance on how to present their creations. Instinctively, though nervous, she knew she would have to stand behind their collective work, while revealing her own identity, as both a mother and an innovator. Do you think people will care about our potions? She asked her children, bringing them back to her thoughts. Of course, Mom. Her son declared with innocent conviction. Who wouldn't he want to make stuff that keeps their house clean? His confidence served as a reminder the overpowering pressure she put upon herself could distort or diminish their shared joy. With evening falling around them, creativity tinged with doubt hung in the air, demanding acknowledgement. Where would she draw the line between effective enthusiasm and stifling expectation? Each moment could either propel their project, or push her deeper into burdensome self-expectations. As she finalized her plans to unveil their work the next day, a creeping thought threatened to consume her. In trying to teach them the values of sustainability, she might inadvertently choke her own ambitions by overemphasizing their success. Victory wasn't defined by social media views. It was about nurturing a shared experience that evolved together. Would they emerge triumphantly from this perspective? As she turned off the lights and prepared for bed, Maria reflected on the fragile balance of aspiration and reality. Could she maintain her newfound purpose without losing herself in the process? The future held its breath, poised for a moment of truth. With nothing but a keyboard and nerves waiting for the next day's reveal, Maria found herself longing for clearer visions. What new challenges would she face tomorrow as she navigated the fine line between engaging her family and embracing her own ambitions? Dawn trickled through the curtains, casting a glow that illuminated the remnants of last night's creative chaos. Maria sat at the kitchen table, a swirling storm of excitement and fear brewing within her. She had been awake for hours, mentally rehearsing her presentation, envisioning every detail. The stakes felt as high as water in a boiling pot, ready to overflow. They might have developed the potions as a fun family project, but now she realized it was a launchpad for her voice, a narrative she desperately wanted to share. "Mom, can we do it now?" Her daughter's voice broke the silence, shimmering with eagerness. "Yes, let us share our magic with the world," Maria replied, trying to inject a sense of calm into her voice. But inside, disquiet erupted with each passing second. The kids buzzed with excitement as they set up their makeshift display, arranging the colorful jars and carefully crafted labels, each one a testament to their collaborative spirit. Maria stepped back, observing them, and here her heart flickered with pride. This was not just about the potions. It was about determination, discovery, and a new way of thinking about their role in the world. Yet doubt nagged at the corners of her mind. What if nobody cares? What if I ruin this for them? What if the what-ifs became a suffocating mantra? She forced herself to focus, breathing deeply as she opened her computer. The social media platform glared back at her, a blank canvas waiting. She hesitated, fingers hovering over the keyboard, as the weight of her intent struck her again. It was one thing to share their concoctions, but quite another to let the world in on her journey, a journey still tangled in uncertainty. "What do I say?" she murmured, grappling with the duality of being a mother and an aspiring innovator. Each word would carry the weight of her ambitions and the dread of expectations. As they began filming, Maria set the frame in view, her children bursting with energy and joy beside her. Their innocent enthusiasm wrapped around her like a warm blanket, and for a fleeting moment, her doubts began to fade. "Hello everyone. We're here today to show you our air potions," she spoke into the camera, her voice growing steadier with each word. Every laugh and smile from her children ignited a thread of courage within her. They transitioned from fun to informative, explaining how each ingredient worked and why they chose it. This was not just a demonstration. It was a declaration of their shared beliefs. Yet, mid-explanation, her thoughts spiraled into deeper territory. She had always played small, held back by the notion that ambition could fracture her family's unity. But this felt different, a fusion of her roles, not a division. The thought was both liberating and terrifying. The video wrapped up and they watched it together. Maria felt a pulse of vulnerability wash over her. What if people judge us? What if they think we're ridiculous? "You're amazing, Mom. Look how fun this is," her son shouted, oblivious to her swirling thoughts. But his words resonated. He reaffirmed her belief that success was not rooted in validation, but in the experience of learning together. As she edited the post, thoughts ran wild. Would sharing this open doors or push them into ridicule? Would they inspire others or remain lost in the scroll of countless feeds? The weight of self-doubt re-emerged, intertwining with her excitement, creating an internal conflict that felt insurmountable. "Ready to post?" asked her daughter, eager to unleash their creation into the digital expanse. "Just give me a second," Maria replied, her hand trembling over the keyboard. In a moment of crystallization, she realized this wasn't simply a plea for acceptance. It was an invitation for others to join them on this journey, an exploration where mistakes were as valuable as successes. With a final deep breath, she hit post, her heart racing with trepidation and hope. As the likes began to ripple in, Maria caught a glimpse of herself in the reflection of a jar. The woman staring back was evolving. She was learning to embrace both her ambitions and the importance of family. The fear remained, tangling with a newfound sense of empowerment. But what awaited her under the public gaze? The moment of truth was teetering on the edge, and Maria could sense the looming confrontation with her unacknowledged fears, as she prepared for the sudden rush of unexpected responses. It fed the tension within her as she wondered, might this be the moment everything changed? The sun was fully risen now, streaming through the kitchen window, but Maria hardly noticed its warmth. Her attention remained firmly locked on the screen, where the notifications rolled in a cascade of comments and likes, each one a bolt of electricity flickering through her. A mix of exhilaration and dread coursed through her veins as she scrolled. Initially there were the likes, a rapid-fire series that felt addictive and intoxicating. But as she reached the comments, her stomach knotted. Is this a joke? One user typed, mocking the creativity behind their potions. A second comment, cute but what's the science? Left her questioning if they'd ventured enough into exploration. Doubts pooled again, making her wonder if she should have nuanced their explanation further. Mom, look. People are watching. Her daughter's voice chirped, oblivious to the burr of discomfort gnawing at her mother. Yes, honey, they are, Maria replied, trying to mask her unease. But inside, self-doubt flooded in like an unwelcome tide. Do people really care about this? She whispered under her breath, letting the harsh reality bite at the edges of her newfound confidence. It was a moment where her fears collided with ambition. Would she bow to the negativity, or stand in the face of turmoil? With a deep intake of breath, she decided to respond. Thank you for your feedback. We are just starting out, and I believe there's always room for creativity and learning, she typed, hitting send before she could second-guess herself. The act felt almost defiant, a small push against the doubt that threatened to overtake her spirit. It was empowering to respond, yet fear remained creeping back into her mind. Would they return, those negative commenters, to tear her down further? Her hand trembled as she put down the phone, attempting to distance herself from the storm brewing in her head. Moments later, a notification appeared, an unexpected message from a viewer who appreciated the lightheartedness of their project. This is fun. I need to try these with my kids. It read. An ember of hope ignited, and Maria felt warmth drip through her. Look, Mom. Someone loved it. Her son exclaimed, his bright eyes alight with joy. Maria smiled, but it didn't reach her core. She amended her stance, pushing through her reservations, trying to align herself with the positivity. In the digital space she had entered, it was easy for negativity to overshadow the good. Yet this was new territory, and she had to navigate through it with both her purpose and fears. In the following days, their potions became a backdrop of determination. The initial post had sparked a surge of activity, transforming their project into something Maria had never envisioned, a learning experience not just for her children, but for herself too. She began to engage more, to share stories behind each potion, explaining not just the how but the why. The small victories felt monumental. You know, I never thought this would be so engaging, she confided in her husband one evening, as they both sat down to discuss the response. I'm learning so much about how to talk to people. I feel like I'm finding my voice. He chuckled, welcome to the public arena, my dear. But even as pride filled her, shadowy doubts were continually whispering. Maria found herself trapped between seeking approval and pursuing authenticity. Every encounter and every comment became a delicate dance, while Christina and Jonah bounded forward, full of passion, each crafting their own messages, oblivious to the internal battles their mother wrestled with. At the end of the week, a message landed in her inbox that felt seismic. We'd love to feature your air potions in our feature about innovative family projects, it read. This was what she inadvertently hoped for, a spotlight on their shared venture. Yet a new wave of anxiety trickled through her. What if they weren't ready? What if scrutiny cracked them, splintering the joy they had created? As Maria sat staring at the message, her mind raced with possibilities and fears, teetering on the precipice of a new chapter. The moment hung, ripe with tension, straddling the boundary of potential and hesitation. Would she seize this opportunity or let fear dictate her actions? The reality of stepping closer to her dreams thudded against the familiar chord of self-doubt, whispering the insidious question. Could she truly embrace this evolution? Maria stood in her kitchen, the sun pouring in like a spotlight, illuminating the remnants of their recent projects. The words still echoed in her mind. We'd love to feature your air potions. The simple idea she had shared with her children had gained traction in ways she never anticipated. Recognition both for her children's creativity and her evolving voice loomed just outside her grasp. Weeks previously, she had grappled with self-doubt, measuring her worth by the standards set by others. As she stared at her email, she felt a storm brewing. Could she truly capitalize on this opportunity without losing sight of her core intentions? Would her family still be her priority amidst the outward rush of ambitions? Yes, she needed to give this a shot. This was more than just an opportunity for her. It was a chance for her children to understand the magic that creativity and science could create together. And so, with fervent determination, she accepted the feature proposal, crafting an outline that interwove the joy of family collaboration with the principles of sustainability. As she began to write, words flowed with clarity and purpose. She documented the premise behind the air potions, detailing the process and the laughter shared among her children. It was beautiful, simple, yet profound as her children's enthusiasm merged with her personal journey toward rediscovering her identity outside of the confines of domestic life. The night before the feature went live, Maria sat on the edge of her bed, exhaustion mingling with excitement. She reflected on the transformation she had undergone. She was no longer just a cleaning lady. She was a pioneer of possibilities, a mother inspiring her children through action. The applause she had once craved for her past life was replaced by something infinitely richer. The sound of laughter and curiosity filling her home. The recognition that she could forge her own path while elevating her family alongside her. The next morning burst forth with anticipation. When the article was published, it spread quickly, igniting discussions within their community and beyond. Friends congratulated her, but more surprisingly, strangers reached out, inspired by her story. One evening, an intern from the lab sent her a message. "Your contributions challenged me to rethink environmental practices in my own home. Thank you." Maria felt like she had crossed an invisible barrier. Her journey had sparked not just personal growth, but a ripple of inspiration that was reaching farther than she could have imagined. Returning home one evening, she found her children glued to a screen, eyes wider than saucers as they watched her feature segment. As she approached, her daughter turned, exclaiming, "Mama, you're a scientist." Maria's heart swelled, both with pride and deep gratitude for this journey they shared. Months passed, and the air potions evolved into an intriguing platform. They began hosting small workshops where families gathered to create potions and bond over their personal commitments to sustainability. Slowly, this blossoming movement deepened Maria's commitment to reinventing her identity, realizing that her voice indeed held power, and her aspirations didn't diminish her responsibilities as a parent, but rather augmented them. Now firmly established in her thoughts, she faced forward with unwavering resolve. She recognized herself as an embodiment of transformation, not just for the accolades but for the fulfilled connection she had with her children, forging a shared path toward learning and excitement. At an eco-fair showcasing local projects, she presented alongside well-respected scientists. They embraced her uniqueness, celebrating her background with open hearts. Maria felt the recognition she had once feared sought after. The applause that echoed through the tent no longer felt like a crown of weight. It was a testament to her evolution, her position established not from titles, but from the authenticity she had manifested. As she concluded her presentation, an overwhelming sense of achievement surged within her. She stood with a sense of solid confidence, no longer defined by her past, but rooted in a future where her ideas and those of her children intertwined beautifully. She had conquered doubt, proven to herself that it was possible to embrace ambition alongside nurturing familial bonds. And at that moment, amidst the clapping and cheers, Maria realized the profound truth of her journey. She was not merely a cleaning lady who had stepped beyond her role. She had transformed into a trailblazer, guiding others toward their own aspirations as she illuminated the way with the very essence of family, creativity, and courage. This was her legacy, a delightful reminder that growth often emerged like the simplest of ingredients, performing magic when combined with purpose and the love of those around her. So as the fair continued and excitement buzzed around her, Maria took a deep breath, exhaling both the remnants of doubt and the thrill of transformation. She had achieved something exceptional, and now it was time to invite others to embrace their own journeys because each moment held the potential to spark change. Now you need to subscribe immediately to the channel to not miss the next exclusive emotional stories that transform lives. Leave a like now to boost this story and help the algorithm. Comment your reactions and theories about how Maria's journey impacted you. And don't wait even one more second to share this video with at least 5 friends who would benefit from Maria's incredible transformation. Support the journey of overcoming and remind others of their own possibilities.